dark ticks, non-jumpiness. Let's go non-jumpiness. So the idea is that you want to be grounded in what you do. Every movement has a purpose. Everything that you do has a purpose. The way that you talk, again,
Podcast. I am your host, Plutus, and today we got probably my favorite guest yet because he's in my field. I had guests talk about politics. I had someone who's a digital marketer. I even had someone from the cast of Jersey Shore. But Sam is actually doing what I wanted to be doing my start of this journey. So I'm super hyped to have him. And Sam, you want to tell about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks for having me. Basically, guys, I'll give you a very brief rundown. I'm kind of like a social dynamics coach. So a lot of people say like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, well, for starters, I teach people about communication in the arts of dating, relationship, as well as higher purpose for themselves, and sort of tips and tricks about conversation skills and sort of body language techniques that people can use in their day-to-day life. They might want a girlfriend, they might want a boyfriend, they might want any sort of relationship, they might want new friends, social circle, they might want business connections. And I'm basically demonstrating and showing what I've learned over the last 9 years of studying this from a traumatic breakup. It kind of forced me, and it was a catalyst for me to go and start all this journey about social dynamics and learning communication with humans.
For sure. I think you said, traumatic breakup. I think trauma is really what pushes people because I'm sure you know this. You kind of have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
It's really funny that a lot of people, I just had someone yesterday on the live and they were talking about their breakup, and I gave them, some truth about it. And I was saying it's going to hurt. It's going to be, it's a traumatic thing, but you're going to be so much stronger as a person after it. But it's funny because people, associate sometimes, a lot of the time pain is like it's such a thing that we live in. It's so gives us to be so present in the moment, and it just we don't see the future at all because that's all we're feeling. But in the future, when that does subside, and obviously time does make that subside through relativity, it's like we become this new evolved person. I think about it as like Pokemon, where you had the Charmander evolving into Charizard. It's like you've got to go through pain because Charmander had to go through all the battle trainers, all this to become Charizard. So it's like human. We've got to evolve into a new person, still keeping our core beliefs, but we actually become better as we go on. But trauma is, or sort of pain or struggle is the biggest evolver for people. It's crazy. And so I kind of teach a lot of people in my industry that sometimes, these traumatic things that happen, they're catalysts for our life, and they make us so much stronger and so much better. And for people not to dwell at like the worst thing in the world that happened to them, and more think about it and kind of reframe their mind to think, this what are the opportunities from this? What can I learn? What can I gain from this? And when I can get people to reframe their mind like that, a lot, they can take an opportunity like that and make it better instead of like, making it worse and going down in a downward spiral like a lot of people do, unfortunately.
I agree. I think it's so easy to get in that spiral. What I've experienced, kind of the hardest parts is you were saying that the pain and suffering kind of gave you the motivation to get into this.
Yeah.
And for me, thing, I wanted to make more friends. So I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And guess what? It helped. You know, I wanted to do certain things so that the pain and the frustration of not having what I wanted is what motivated me to do it. What do you say for people that kind of feel stuck because I'm depressed, so I don't have the energy to do anything? Because not doing anything, it creates the issue. It's like a cycle, a loop.
Yeah, for sure. Again, as you said, a great word is cycle, because we get in humans, we always love, we're creatures of habit, let's just say, and we always seek comfort. So whatever we do in our daily life, we want to seek a routine and we want to seek comfort. So a lot of the time when we do those things, our comfort zone actually gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So I do recommend everyone to at least once a day, or as much as they can, is to seek that discomfort and seek growing their comfort zone. Now, a lot of people hear that and they say, "Oh, okay," like, but I'm thinking about really menial things, right? So we go in our day, we might wake up and we look at our bed and go, "Oh, I'm coming back to bed. I don't need to make my bed," right? So there's one little thing that we felt a bit of resistance and we didn't push through it. We kind of just like, oh, anyways. So you go in the shower. We always know cold showers are good to wake up in the morning, but it's like, oh, but
Absolutely.
it's too cold, and because we didn't make our bed, we've always lost the little resistant challenge we had at the start of the day. So we have a warm shower, we don't have a cold shower, there's another resistance challenge we lost. And then it might be going for a run, might be reading, might be meditating, all these kind of things that we know are very good for us, but we don't get into the momentum of that. We seek comfort. So what I always urge people is, like, as soon as you feel that little internal resistance of like, making your bed or cleaning your room or doing something that's a little bit discomforting, not taking the same route to work every day, maybe walking to work if you can, catching a bus, doing something out of the ordinary rather than falling into this routine. What that's doing is pushing you outside your comfort zone, allowing your body to be more in that area where it doesn't know what's going to happen, and it's exciting, and as well as it gets you out of that routine, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, dude. That I couldn't have said it better. I think that it's really a matter of pushing it. It's you have to be discomfortable. It's one of those things. I think you kind of have to accept it. You know,
Yeah.
I was messy for a long time, and like I recently, I didn't really read the full book, 12 Rules to Life. I know one of the rules is to make your bed, and I started
Yep.
doing it, just to see what would happen and keep my room
Sure.
cleaner. And I definitely feel more internally clean when my room's clean. It's not like I want to do it. Like I have one of my roommates, like a friend of mine, is super messy, and I'm always telling him, bro, please start cleaning
Yeah.
this bed. And he's just like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'm depressed. And it's like, dude, you're probably depressed because look at what you're surrounded by. You're surrounded by pea cups and dirt.
Yeah. Fuck, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I know a lot of people's rooms are like scattered full of water bottles everywhere. Good that they're drinking water, but there's like 50 bottles everywhere, and you're like, yeah, a clean environment is like a clean mind, basically.
Literally, bro. Like I get it. I don't know you are, but I get the stoner lifestyle. And it's like, listen, it's not an excuse. People are like, oh, I'm high, I'll do it later. Like, come on, dude. And I'm a big believer. I think weed's fine, but if you're gonna smoke it, you should, get your stuff done first.
Yeah, true,
You're,
true, true. I'm a big believer again, whenever any sort of dabbled in that stuff, it's with an intent in mind. That's how I do it. So if you want to get high, there's an intent, and mine is to either ponder the universe, ponder questions that I have, and I do it with a specific intent. I can understand how people just get, used to it just smoking, but I always came to the belief that I would never get addicted if I had an intent behind any drug I took to expand my mind or to let go. There's got to be an intent behind it, and that way it's like there's a purpose.
and Sam,
It's not,
I love that, dude. I think that's facts. For anything, you have to have an intent. I think that when people don't have an intent, that's just one example. I think it's great. For example, let's say me, and this is not saying I do this. This is an example. I'm
yeah,
smoking weed when I video edit because it makes me create funny things. So there's a reason why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to make the video more interesting. And a lot of writers, musicians, artists in general say they use it to be creative. So that's a use versus
yeah, for sure,
or
sure.
I had a stressful. I think that's where people get screwed over with something like weed, which isn't that dangerous inherently, with
Yeah,
smoking because they had a bad day because I'm stressed.
yeah,
So that's a
exactly,
cope, and you don't
for
want to do it.
sure. No, exactly. Especially when like, meditation gives you these same results. It's only 15 minutes and you're clear-headed and you're ready to go, you know? It's actually like, again, I could get the feeling behind it, doing it because it's instant relaxation. But again, you're seeking comfort. You're seeking something else that can give you the comfort instead of the comfort that you can get from meditation. Because it is discomforting. So there's little tricks and sort of things that the mind puts on itself to seek that comfort anywhere you go. You know what I mean? So I definitely think, and I remember I used to do a lot of e-commerce. I've dabbled in so I've been training and teaching since the age of 20, 21, and so I'm 20, almost turning 27 now, 20, and I was like, when I started in e-commerce a little bit, and one of the things they told you is that when you do product research to also get drunk because it puts your mind in the state of people when they're buying and stuff like that. So there
That's
was an
great.
intent behind that. It was super creative, and not a lot of e-commerce dudes know that too. So when you do product research, you just get super hammered, and then your mind is captivated by the pictures and stuff, like the consumers. So it's a
Yeah.
little kind of thing. Again, the intent behind it. And that comes down to communication and conversation skills. Definitely. It's like anytime you're talking with someone, whether it's someone you're interested in, whether it's your crush, whether it's, you want to make new friends, a social circle, you want to be in the top 100 of your city, you've got to have that intent behind it. And a lot of time it's like people go into a conversation, into any sort of dynamic with people, and it's like, what's your intent? Now, on the flip side, again, here's the biggest paradox of life, which is yes, you have to have an intent, but you have to be free from the outcome. You can't be attached to an outcome because you become outcome orientated. And that's where a lot of people, they hear that, okay, oh, I have an intent, I want to get to know this person. But then in the flip side, they become so outcome dependent on it. So it's this kind of like this balance between the two. Again, you've got to have an intent. Yes, you can smoke weed to just relax, but also at the same time, it's good to be productive with it and use it to expand your mind. So it is always a balance in life.
That's one of the biggest changes I made the past 2 or 3 years is when I'm doing something with a purpose. So before I was just doing it, so now For example, that's a great example. If I was going to smoke weed, it would be for a reason. And a
Yeah.
lot of make plans of friends. I'm making plans of friends who, are also in school or business guys or doing YouTube or something that,
Mm.
like I really am enjoying the experience. And everything I'm doing now, when I read a book, it's something I'm going to gain from this book. It's a really interesting book about something I'm working towards. Or
Okay.
in my free time, I'll play guitar while I'm watching a video. Like I try to be.
Nice.
It changes your life, man. When you start having everything you do is for a reason to get to somewhere.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I like that. I'm gonna like incorporate. My buddy tells me when Einstein used to do a lot of when he was researching his theories, he would do 40 minutes of work and then that 10 minutes of creativity. He'd play the violin because he was a violinist, and he would do that. It was kind of cool thing. So he worked on the 50-minute time frame, not an hour time frame, 50-minute time frame, which was kind of cool. So there's always you find different things when you start doing things with purpose. It's like so like that. It's so abstract to work off a 50-minute hour.
When there's a purpose, you get the real passion for it.
That's what's so attractive to people, having that. You become one of the biggest things that happens is you become very decisive because you're not
Yeah,
only looking after your time, and that's so attractive to people, whether it's, that's across genders, that's across, all sorts of cultures. Being decisive and being on your purpose is just the best thing.
for sure, man. I've noticed that like when I'm in this mindset of like I am on my path, I have these goals, I'm not looking for external motivation or external validation rather.
Yeah.
I just getting more girls. I'm not listen, like I'm not here to brag, but it's playing out that way. I was doing something called Instacart today. I know you're Australian, America. It's called Instacart. It's like Uber for groceries, and
Yeah.
you go and shop, do batches. And this cashier, pretty nice, pretty girl. I just happened to get in her line. I go do a few more batches, and I just happened to end up in the same parking lot, the same Giant again. And I got another batch from that same supermarket. So I go in just purely by coincidence. I go in line. She's the same cashier, and she's being
Yeah.
super friendly from college. So I just like left her a business card. I'm like, yeah, you should just text me. You seem super cool. Like 10 minutes later, she texted me.
Yeah,
So
that's dope. That's
it's
dope.
like,
Yeah, definitely. Because again, you've had that clear purpose.
how would you explain how that works? That women are attracted to that like kind of organic man is motivated.
Oh, I think if we want to get really, really in depth, it comes to evolutionary psychology. We live in a hierarchical world, and there's no two ways about that. We can't really say it is and there isn't because there is, we live in hierarchies, right? So when someone is on their purpose, they are decisive. They display characteristics that kind of emanate to the world that you're a higher value person. Right. And this happens with, when girls are on their path too, it's the exact same thing. It's literally human beings. So breaking it down even further, the reason why being on your purpose or being very decisive or having a goal and a vision in your mind is that a lot of the time you set boundaries, number one. So you have boundaries for your time. You know that you've only got a certain number of time, especially with you, with your Instacart. It's kind of like you knew you only got this one chance and then you've got to go back to work and you've got to do everything. So you're like, oh, you have boundaries within yourself to be like, no, you're going to do this because you don't have that much time. You've got to capitalize on your opportunities. So that's number one. So you're very good with your time. You have that boundaries. Also, you have boundaries for other people. So you're very like, this is what I want. This is what I like. And not a lot of people know what they actually like in the world. Again, last night, I even write down again, I'm like, Sam, what do you like? I ask this question a lot. There's a TV show called Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've ever watched it.
It's on my list, dude. I want to watch it so badly.
It's
It looks
really good.
awesome.
There's one episode in season 3 or season 2 where the girl Tommy Shelby is the main character. He's the main kind of gangster, and the girl asks him, "It's like Tommy, what do you want?" And at first he's like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" And she says this quote like 5 to 6 to 7 times. What do you want? She gets louder and louder and louder, and then by the eighth time he like lets it go. He's like, this is what I want. And that's very attractive to people. It's like you're going after what you want. You won't stop at hurdles or battles. You're just gonna you have this like clear mind, clear intent. And that's what happens because we live in a world that's very muddled with intent. Like people are like this way, that way, they go to this thing or that thing. But when you're just so clear on it, people like, okay, it just emanates this vibration to people. So it's more of an energetic level. People are like, oh, energy, but it is this thing where it's on an energetic level. And with success with women, success as a woman to a man, any sort of human dynamics and relationships, it is on an energetic or vibrational term a lot of the time, because
Yeah.
it's so many things that are complex in it, especially with psychology and evolution and or the mating systems and stuff.
Yeah, man, it's interesting how psychology and like spirituality stuff kind of coincide. Like, I do agree. When someone has that high energy in a room, like that you want to be around that person. There's vibing. People say vibes are very real. Vibes are very
Yeah,
real.
100%, 100%. Like there is this, different tactics that you, or not tactics, but different things that you can do. A lot of people are like, oh, it's manipulation of this, and I'm like, no, it's not. Really, it is just the understanding of human behavior. That is really it. If you read the Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, you'll understand every single thing, or Seduction and 48 Laws of Power. The funny thing is the 48 Laws of Power and The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene are the only two books, or one of the two books that are banned from prisons because they're so powerful. That's a good thing that's the thing you learn.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That
those two,
makes sense.
yeah, because they are very, very powerful. So when you get to know all these things, you understand, these vast concepts that might seem very confrontational at the start, but then when you get a bit more deeper, you're like, oh, okay, I understand. Like I'll give you a one that I've really come up with the last couple of weeks. So I come up with these ideas and these research, and I kind of filter them through my brain and through other people's brains that I have here, and I come up with it. So one of the things too, we'll go on an energetic level as well as an evolutionary psychology level, is like when you walk into a room as a man, let's do just for males, you want to go and you want to surround yourself with the alpha male of that group, no matter where you go.
Always do that, dude. I
Yeah,
find who's always friend them. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Now people are like, okay, well, you befriend the alpha male. Okay, where's the alpha male? Obviously, the guy that everyone is looking to get their validation from. That's number one. He is the leader. He's the person in charge. He's the protagonist, as some might say. So that person is there. Now, when you are associating with that person among everyone else sees that and looks, and the alpha male gives you respect. You are now vibrating in the same status as that person. Now, that's status is not a thing that we have. It's a vibration. It's energy. That's all it is. It's a perception in people's minds. So, that little thing, when you get to know, you're like, holy crap, that's such a simple thing. And as you said, you've done it. I continue to do it and continue to go through this filter until I know crystal clear of what exactly that means.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's energy. That's a great example of it.
Just to add on to what you said, I know I learned this thing for nightclubs. The
Mm.
way you get the best, hottest girls there, I learned, is you befriend the coolest guys there, and you just have a good
Yeah.
time with the cool guys. Guess who's going to be lingering around you? So, and so many men make the wrong approach. They go and they go, oh, let me just find the hottest girl and impress her. And that's not
Yeah.
how it works. You can't go in and impress her. I do think it has to be holistic, but you can be smart in realizing, hey, I need to be genuine. I need to just go there, have fun. And I think this is Jason Capito said this. When he goes to a nightclub, he sets out a goal that's realistic. So he said, like, and I thought it was amazing he said this. It might have been in your video. I don't know. I see so many
Sure.
videos. But
Yeah.
the person was talking about how you set a goal. Oh, no. What was it? Essentially when you go in there and you're with the group who has the dominance there, the people are still attracted to you. But when you go there and you're setting out to be with a girl, that helps two people. You can't control two people, but you can control yourself. So I can guarantee, I can say my rule for tonight is I'm going to have a good time. I can
Yeah,
control,
exactly.
but I can't say I'm going to make this girl be with me for tonight.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, that comes down to, I remember the video. I actually saved it because I like the way that he speaks is very good. I speak highly of Jason Capital. Yeah, he's crazy. So the idea was outcome dependence. When someone makes their night, their goal, their outcome is like to get laid. That's their success. If you don't get that, there's no success in that whole night. You know what I mean? But the only thing that you can really control is you. There's so many factors that control that environment. So I think he said in the video is like, I'm gonna say exactly what I think. That's his outcome for his criteria for success. That's what he used. Yeah. So it's becoming your authentic self, and that's what a lot of the time I'm teaching is authenticity. See, a lot of the time you see these people and they say, just be yourself, just be yourself to be your authentic self, just be yourself. And it's like, I tell people, I'm like, you don't know how powerful that word is because it's so easily manipulated. And so I always teach people, I'm like, you've got to find your authentic self to be your authentic self. And a lot of time when someone says just be you, no one knows who they are. No
Yeah.
one actually knows. There are caricatures, and I know this because I was a caricature for multiple people. So I didn't know who the fuck I was. So it comes down to like, what do I actually like? What do I want? What do I want in this world? What do my life to stand for? And that's what I'm always bombarding into my students is like, what do you like? You, no one else, no trends, no outside influences. You, and it's usually something that is not trending. It's usually something that they just feel they want to do. which is
Yeah,
kind of cool to see
I
that.
it's hard to an extent to be the whole thing of being your authentic self. People are confused, and I've been there where it's like, what like you said, people have this caricature, and it's like what if being your authentic self is annoying? So how do you adapt to that? What
For
would you
sure. I think your authentic self should be your hero kind of thing. Should be the person that you want to be. You know what I mean? So I don't think it would be annoying if you're trying to say it again.
I love that. Be the person you want to be. I love
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I think it's like a lot of the time what happens is that in life, being fully real, it's like, you be yourself, or your authentic self, and you will find confrontation with other people because it's like you are outside of the social norm. The social norm and social normities is that you conform to the world, and then we put you in this box, and you don't step outside that, and anyone that does, we're going to beat down we're going to take that spark away from you. And that's what a lot of people is. You had this spark as a kid, this childlike essence, and you were just fun and nothing really mattered. But then when you're in your 20s, you've lost it, and you're just kind of walking around this state, just unconscious about life. So again, trying to rewire that and get you to be that authentic self. It's like the reason why you usually hate yourself is because yourself is actually not you. It's a conditioning that you've done, that you've had done to you.
Dude, that's facts. My first 3 years in college, I was chasing these frat parties. I just did not hit it off with these people, man. I would just stand there awkwardly, and like I knew how to push myself and have conversations, but it just was not working. And
Yeah.
eventually, I realized I really fucking hated this. I did not enjoy frat parties. I'm sure you know what they're like. It's
Yeah.
not as much
Yeah.
embarrassing, and it's just like, dude, like I'm not, oh, I get lucky for a night, great. This is some girl who's gonna, hit 20 other guys in the next 2 weeks. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just like it got to the point where I realized why am I like I pushed myself and I would do it. I got to the point where I had huge anxiety. I was
Mm.
really uncomfortable starting conversations or talking to
Yeah.
a pretty girl. I'd suck it up and I do it anyway. And I got to the point where I said, it's cool that I can suck it up now. I can get through it, but I need to start doing what I enjoy, which is smaller gatherings where I can actually socialize. It's not, you know, crazy music and people twerking as the socialization.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. You always find, again, the biggest thing is that I'll look at that, I'll look at myself, and it's like, where's the body trying to find comfort? Where is it seeking comfort? It's smaller gatherings because you can talk and you can communicate. Now I'm always pushing myself into uncomfortable situations. Last night, give you an example. Usually my normal nightclubs, I know everybody, I know the right people. Again, we go to a nightclub, I don't know a single thing, I can't get free entry, I don't know anyone, I don't have any people getting bottle servers or anything like that, because I developed my whole social circle around these couple of clubs. But I went to it because it's like an 18 and 19-year-olds techno club, $45 entry just to get in. I don't like any of the people in there, but I still push myself to go into those situations. Again, it's so important to do this, and I'm sure you do it in a lot of scenarios. So again, you know what you like, you know what works for you a lot of the time too, in a smaller gatherings, because you can talk and you like to talk. Again, it might not be seeking comfort, it might be because you actually really enjoy that, and it's better to enjoy the things you are. But I'm continuously pushing myself to the worst uncomfortable positions
Yeah,
because I'm like, you
and
just
I think
grow.
that you get better at the smaller version when you do the harder. Like I'm better at the small gathering stuff because I force myself to do the same thing at a
Yeah,
frat party where no one's really interested in having a life talk about some deep philosophical topic at a frat basement,
for
But
sure.
I made it work. So
What are some of the things that you push yourself in your daily life or your weekly goals, especially this podcast? That's pushing you for sure.
yeah. So I started out my background. I started out as a finance major. I was set day one of college. I'm going to be the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm going to be Jordan Belfort. You know,
Yeah.
and I started out with that, and I'm like, this is kind of boring. Like all these numbers and trading. And then I had an internship at a stock trading firm, and it was like really boring. I hated it. I couldn't
Yeah.
get into it. So then I went to an internship at a digital marketing firm. One of my closest friends, Sean Boyle, he actually has his own podcast. He's been on my show. And Sean really opened my heart and my mind to the world of digital marketing. And once I understood digital marketing, that opened my world to how to advertise myself. So,
Yes.
I'm not famous. I have 10,000 followers on TikTok, which I feel is a good start.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
just kind of, and the more I was learning this stuff, reading these books, I'm also a good speaker. So I'm like, dude, I would love to take this information in and then share it with other people because I know
Yeah.
I can be captivating. I am the person in the room who knows how to get everyone's attention. It's a skill I've gained and took a lot of practice. So I learned to be
Mm.
captivating. And I kind of use my background in digital marketing, which is SEO, search engine optimization, it's a tongue twister, and other stuff like that to kind of enter this field. And now I'm just working and growing.
That's good. That's fucking fantastic, man. It's crazy how you go through peaks and troughs and you go through different interests, but you do kind of stay in the same sort of niche, which is the digital world, which is cool. You know,
How did
I
you
like
start
that.
this? You talked a little bit about it, but what really pushed you? You said the breakup, and how did you go from the breakup to you learning this information? Then what made you start being someone that teaches others this information?
Sure, yeah, I'll give you a little bit of background. Take a little bit of time, but I will. Again, so during I started playing golf at the age of 2, so I was wanting to become a professional golfer. I played to the age of 20. You know, constantly playing tournaments, constantly, representing, my state, going to the Australian tournaments and going worldwide, right? And then being in college, the college system. But so that's all I wanted to do. But a lot of the time you're by yourself or you're talking to 60 and 70-year-olds. So I could talk to Gladys, my freaking, she works at the retirement village. She was cool to talk to. But anyone my age, I was like, oh, I fucking don't know what to talk about. So I was like, oh, it's really, really awkward. And I always wanted just if they could be one-on-one. I'm good on one-on-one, but group settings, nah, I'm a shy, insecure. I just reclude inside. And a lot of people can feel that. And then the other thing that I found was, with the bullying at high school and everything that came from it, being short, pretty short kid. So I was like, I understood, and I kind of look back on it and be like, oh, it was kind of a blessing. But we'll go into that a little bit later. So I found that the only people that were in my life chose to be in my life. I could never attract anyone in my life. So even this girlfriend that chose to be in my life, it was like it was great, and then we broken up, which is the anniversary coming up, probably 9 years ago, 8 years ago, which was Christmas Eve. So every Christmas, it was
Well,
probably.
you hear that because that means you move forward, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. The anniversary, I celebrate, that's kind of industry. So what happened was, that we broke up, and I went into a deep depression, and then I started becoming addicted to sleeping tablets. So I couldn't sleep, obviously, after a breakup. It went and further and further and further until there was one day where I got it from 5 different chemists. I was going to kill myself. I had a bottle of water, and I put them all out, and I was going to end it. And that was, pretty traumatic. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll take him, I'll go to bed, and mum will find me. And I didn't, I was thinking so irrationally. Like, that's, looking back at it, that's horrendous. But I was like, oh, that'll be fine. Again, you're not thinking clearly. You're
Yeah.
not. You're in a different world. You're in a different space. And I was like, you know what? I'll go on to YouTube. The only thing that gave me a little bit of joy was YouTube. And when I found YouTube, I don't know what I was searching. I was just fucking around with it, just wasting some time. And then I found this video with now my mentor, and he was talking about just fitness as well as how to talk to girls. And something happened in that. And then I spent the next night watching it, the next day watching it. I didn't sleep that night. I threw all the pills in the bin, the water in the, I put it away, and I watched every video this company had. And this company's called RSD, Real Social Dynamics. And they just taught guys how to be more authentic and more confident. And especially they did that. They kind of did it like a Montessori school would do. A Montessori school finds something they're passionate about and teaches you all these other things. And that's what they did. They found that, how to get confident with girls. You brought all this spirituality, all this building yourself up as a person. So it was like, oh, okay. So I literally devoted myself for the next 12 months every day to anything they said. I then flew out, became assistant for my mentor. And then from there, I got, this is probably a story you don't know. I ended up working for the company, 12 months in, the fastest
I'm a
person.
huge fan of RSD. I'm a huge fan. They're
Oh,
they're great.
yeah,
Yeah.
so for the next 2 years, I was Australia's biggest dating coach. So I was traveling the world, traveled to 31 cities, teaching with all these people. And, I taught, millions of men worldwide and women too about, just becoming the best version of themselves. And then from there, I got a girlfriend. I experienced all that, the whole relationship, and it was a great relationship. And then from there, what happened was I went into e-commerce, and then I was like, you know what? I love an e-commerce, but there's something missing. So I did a 3-day Vipassana. If you know that, it's basically you don't talk, you don't look at your phone, you don't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't do anything, the biggest thing that I found was I was just with my thoughts. And from there, I had this one thought, and it was more about Apple, the brand. And I was like, they're a $1 trillion company because they give $1 trillion worth of value. We're talking right now. I have an Apple computer, Apple mouse, Apple everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, they give that. And I was like, the reason why I'm not getting value in my life is because I'm not giving value. I'm not giving free value. I'm not giving myself to anyone else or the knowledge. Like the most retarded things, like I've had multiple dinners with Ty Lopez, having a little food fight with him. Things that you wouldn't know. I've had, the biggest people in the world. I almost like I had a full-on conversation with Seth MacFarlane after running him over and almost running him over in a parking lot, understanding his creative process because I knew a lot about him, or being at multiple venues with some of the biggest people in the world, in self-development. And I'm like, hanging out with Tony Robbins' personal trainer and understanding Tony Robbins, like all these kind of things. And I had all this stuff, not to brag or anything, but why wasn't I giving this back to people? Why was I keeping it for myself and being selfish? So I was like, you know what? I'd been on TikTok for a long time. I was like, fuck, I'm going to start putting videos out, putting YouTube videos out and start giving back to the world. And it has just exploded. People just love it. And I'm so thankful for everyone. And especially because it's in a generation where, again, it's just this new generation. It's like they're going to be with me for the next 5 to 6 years because they're growing up and there's no information like this, or there's no people, because of the PC culture, being able to express it in such a way that's a little bit controversial yet still in the guidelines of everything. And that's really hard to do, as you're probably well aware.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of stuff, it's considered, it's hateful to say this stuff. Like, hey, basically to shame shameful things is now shameful. You can't shame things. And unfortunately, to be a developed man, you have to shame things. That's how we develop.
Sure.
By the way, I haven't even started. I have a whiteboard behind me. I wrote down questions to ask you. I haven't even got to them yet, just because
Okay,
I knew
let's do it.
Go so well.
Yeah,
no, dude, I
have plenty of time.
Yeah. I think that's where your channel is kind of skyrocketing now, and I'm hoping I start building. I think that, and the reason why I started this podcast is there's Jason Capital, there's Gary Vee, all these guys, but there's no one doing it in a podcast format. Like, there's podcasts to do business, but there's no one commentating on these ideas and being really about it. I'm gonna be that guy who will say, I had a video talking about shaming. I was like, guess what? Fat shaming's good. And it's kind of clickbait tagline, but then I explain, I go, listen, like, you should shame things that are bad. It's okay to shame fat shaming, for example. And now you shouldn't be mean to a person. That's not saying you should go to a fat person and be mean to them. Hell no, I do not condone that. Don't bully anybody. But as a society, we can look at traits that are bad, and it is okay to acknowledge that negative things are negative as a society. And that's kind of what I meant.
I mean, again, to be decisive as a person, it is going to be controversial no matter what you do, because there's, again, my understanding is that there is so many people in the world now that you're never going to be everyone's cup of tea, as we say in Australia. You're never going to be everyone's thing. And to be polarizing is good, because you're going to have a market that absolutely loves you. And I remember there was an article written in the Google or something like that. It wasn't by an author or anything, but it was like your 1,000 core fans, right? And they talk about that you can become successful if you have 1,000 core fans. You can type it up on Google, and 1,000 core fans. And that's the understanding. And in that, I think they talk about being a little bit polarizing, so you can have people that love you. But again, you're going to have people that hate you because they just don't resonate. And a lot of the time it's like, again, I'll give you a reason why this happens. And for anyone listening to, it's because we go through experiences in life, right? Where you have different experiences that I have, other people have different experiences, and they interpretate it through different things. They have belief systems. So I'll give you an example. Someone has a crime scene, and they can be 13 different stories, and there was only 13 people present at that thing. And you're like, wow. So the idea is called cognitive bias, right? So we have a belief system, whether it's done by our parents, for the school, or anything like that. And what it does is that it filters what we see. It filters what we hear. It filters what we feel through this belief. Does it align with the belief that I had? So a belief is like, I'm confident or I'm not confident. If you're not confident, you're going to go into every experiencing, finding and kind of identifying through a thing in your brain called reticular activation system, which is basically the, the focus. Your focus on what you want. You're going to look in every situation and be like, oh, I wasn't confident there. I'm not confident there. I'm not confident there. So it's just reiterating to yourself, and you're actually blocking out different things. A great example is if I told you it's National Blue Car Day today, and you're like, oh, okay, is it? And you fully believe me, National Blue Car Day. And you're like, okay, and you went out and you saw you're like, fuck yeah, there was blue cars everywhere. That's all you're looking for. That's all your brain. It's like, don't think of a pink elephant. You instantly think of a pink elephant. If there's National Blue Car Day, you're looking at all the blue cars. And they said, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. It was actually National Yellow Car Day. And you're like, well, I saw no yellow cars. It was all blue. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And you would fight me. You'd be like, no, it was National Blue Car. You're wrong. And I'm like, even if I knew, your brain will only see the blue completely, because there's so many things, so many bits of information. So when you go and you say different things and you are polarizing and say different things, it's like half the population see things differently than you. And there's so many people see things so differently. So again, you can't be everyone's cup of tea, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate while also fortunate. Like you said, that I think that the people I've gained is because I'm polarizing, and I have a lot of friends in that who, I got to a point where I am done trying to please people. I'm done because essentially, if you're changing what you say to please people, you're just a liar, and being a liar
Mm.
is not good. So I
No,
got to a point where
exactly.
I said I posted on my Snapchat straight. I'm like, listen, guys, you may have noticed lately I've been more polarizing, posting kind of edgy, and if you don't like it, unload me, delete me. But I'm done being fake to please people. It's not worth it. And if you
Mm.
know my heart, know my intentions, even if you disagree on a topic, let's say politics. I'm a Trump supporter, and my good
Sure.
friends who do like Trump will say we recognize where your intent is, and we know that it's not coming from any hateful place. But then
Yeah,
this
yeah.
type of people who are like, you like Trump? Oh, you must be a Nazi. No, I'm Jewish, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, it's great it's an understanding to, even comedians are getting attacked, you know what I mean? Especially, being about dark jokes or edgy jokes. And it's like, not the ones that have had any sort of assault cases, but the ones about their comedy, in particular, their content. It's like, man, comedians are only there to make, like, have fun, they're never ill intent a lot
Job,
of the time.
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like crazy, but that's with life, and that's what you have to take. You have to take the good with the bad. It's also a thing that I like to call the rubber band theory. So with each way that the culture shifts, it's only going to be there for a certain amount of time, and then it falls back and it swings back. And the only thing that's 100% in life, they say you're born, you raise taxes, and you die. Well, they're
Yeah.
forgetting the number one thing, which is change. Change always happens in your life, and no one says that. So there's four things that happen in life that is certain, you know.
I like that. I want to transition to the one video you posted and to talk with us a bit. Just because,
Yeah.
I got like three things to go over, and then we'll. Sorry, 37 minutes. Nice to try to end it, but I just enjoy talking to you so much.
Yeah, it's good.
Sam.
It's good, bro. No, it's
So
easy.
it's to me a video about being authentic, dark ticks, non-reactiveness, jumpiness.
Yeah,
Can
for
you
sure.
kind of
Yeah.
jumpiness is, what dark ticks are, and how to be authentic with that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, one of the biggest things that we didn't do when I was, teaching a lot of guys, I would say, don't drink Red Bull. And they were like, huh? What? Drinking Red Bull is great. Don't drink coffee, and all these things. And I'm like, they're like, why? And I was like, well, you've got an anatomic nervous system that's going through your body, right? And when you start to put stimulus in it, you become a little bit more jumpy. You start to become a bit more hesitant and a bit more scattered in the brain because you've got all these chemicals going on in your body. So dark ticks, non-jumpiness. Let's go non-jumpiness. So the idea is that you want to be grounded in what you do. Every movement has a purpose. Everything that you do has a purpose. The way that you talk, again, I started this conversation talking too fast. Right? Things within the conversation that I can even tell you that I started to slow my speech down. And it happens. I see that TikToks blow up when I start fast and I slow down because it grabs people attention, but then you slow down. You become more grounded in yourself. So the idea is to become in the present, in the now. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, is a great book that talks about being in the present, being in the now. So what it does, when you become more congruent and more in the moment, you are less jumpy in your body. You're less like reactive to people. You're more proactive. So let's take an example. There's 100 people there's 100 people walking on the sidewalk. A car goes around and beeps their horn, right? There's going to be 80 people that, oh, jump, like that. They're shocked, right? There's going to be 10 people that, are distracted by something and then, look right back. Then there's going to be 10 people that don't even freaking recognize the car and just keep walking. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, again, if the car was plummeting through the people, obviously you'd want to react. But there's some people that are more just, they're on their purpose, on their grind. And when you're not, you're more reactive to the world and reactive to the environment. Dramas come up and they're more, oh yeah, like this happened, this happened, this happened, celebrity, this, instead of worrying about themselves a lot of the time. So that's what it means by being a little bit less non-jumpy. The other thing that you want to do is there's all sub-communication. So there's communication is broken down into 93% of non-verbal communication, which is your body language, your speech tonality, your all sorts, your presence as a person, your vibration, and then 7% of language or communication is verbal communication, what you actually say. But it's really important that the 7% is very good because the 93% is like is contrasting with it, kind of adds onto it. So I'll give you an example of another non-reactiveness or non-jumpiness. It's kind of like when you can have bad body language, right? And still be talking. And as long as you're confident inside, it does not matter what the fuck your body language is. But when your body language is not good and you're nervous inside, that accentuates the nervousness. So that's an understanding that you get kind of about the two things. And excuse me. So yeah, a lot of the time non-jumpiness is kind of you feel like someone is reacting more to the other person than they are to them. And a lot of times you'll hear like the term alpha or beta, when the beta male's reacting more to the alpha male, trying to seek the validation. Hey?
Jesse Lee Peterson, he goes, beta male, beta
Eh,
male.
Wait a minute. So you can kind of get the understanding. And what if anyone doesn't know that an alpha male is kind of it's through evolutionary psychology. You can look that up through a book called The Evolution of Desire by David M. Buss is a good understanding. Or there's another book called Sapiens by Uriel something. I can't remember the last name, how he pronounced, but it's a good understanding about the two different people. One's high status, one's lower status. That's a good understanding. The next thing is dark ticks. Now, dark ticks are inherently subconscious beliefs that, say this is getting to more I'll try to preface it and try to say it in the correct way. When someone thinks of themselves as a certain value and they go up to someone that they think is higher value, there will be displays of unconscious body language that indicate to the other person that I'm not on the same status as you. A great one is excessive blinking that no one catches. You start to blink twice as fast when talking to someone. That's an indicator. And I will say girls are 1,000% better at picking this up than boys. A
Yeah,
thousand. You girls are so good at it. And I'm like, wow, how did you
that,
pick that up? Like they
it,
blow my mind. In the body language, I ask girls. I ask like, what is that? Because I'm like, boys, we're pretty good. Don't get me wrong, we're pretty good. Girls are just in another level. So an
well, that's
excessive.
they raise kids. They have to recognize facial expressions better.
Yes, facial expressions. A lot of times it comes down to the expressiveness, the dullness in the eyes. You can see different sort of eye patterns when someone is squinting versus someone has this dull look, blank look in front of them, whether you're not looking at someone's eyes, whether you're not smiling, whether you're not doing all these kind of things. They all indicate to someone and they're dark ticks. Another one could be little flinches here and there. Another one could be that yeah, something like that. Just weird things because it's a belief that everything's filtering through. And
Yeah.
if your body is kind of in that fight or flight mode a lot of the time. And this might not be when you're attracted to someone. This might be just higher value people, right?
Yeah.
You talk to a celebrity and your voice starts to waver a little bit. Hi, oh, yeah, can I get a photo or something like that? It's just all these unconscious things that we usually can't control that happen. So again, this is why I preface to everyone. It's like meditation is the key to this, to becoming grounded. Nothing wavers when you are still. You actually are still because everything wavers when you're chaotic. You have these ups and downs, you're everything, and you're not finding your middle ground. So that's what I always say. And again, all these things, as you said, you've seen them in the field, you've seen them in other people all of the time, and it's an unconscious thing that happens.
Absolutely. I know even just to add to what you said real quick, the one, if you're people that are kind of come across awkward or turn off with the subliminal dark text, is your eyebrows will stay stationary when you talk. But someone's expressive, eyebrows are moving, and that it's
Yeah.
almost like I'm a dead inside vibe. I died a long
Yeah.
time ago. You don't want to do.
That's true. Yeah, there's like a blank stare. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Two more things I want to do just before we end this.
Yeah, for sure.
So, on this topic of the conversation stuff, can you
Mhm.
explain how you dominate a conversation in a good way? Why it's a good thing, how you do it, and I
Yeah,
guess
for
that
sure.
kind of comes with frame control, which is something I'm a big fan. I think frame control is everything.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I always work on because again, it's one of my habits that I don't do as well. So I always reiterate to myself about this, and I'm always trying to improve on it. Again, let's just say it's like I'm okay to say my weaknesses are this and this, but I'm always working on them. You know what I mean? I'm never not putting them aside and just double down on my strengths. So a good indication of this would be the first thing that you said was again, you said what was the question again? The first part of it.
Conversation.
Dominate the conversation. Yeah, absolutely. So again, whenever you go into an interaction with someone, I'm always going into the interaction assuming the burden of the conversation. So that's the idea. Assume the burden of the conversation. You do this because number one, you're taking the pressure off them. The investment in them is less that they have to do, which makes them more entitled to do it. It's like if I ask you questions, right? The investment that you have to do is give me all this information. You have to invest. And if you don't think that I have value or there's no comfort between us, you don't want to invest. It's like kind of, you don't see that what's worth your time. It's kind of like talking to someone that doesn't care about you versus someone that does care about you. It's like a completely different thing. So again, I go into a conversation with someone that I might be attracted to, a business partner, anything like that, assuming 90% I'm talking, 10% them talking. until they start to ask me questions, which is called the social hook point. When they start to ask me questions, it goes to more 60-50 or 60-40 or 50-50. You know what I mean? They're asking questions, I'm asking questions, it's going back and forth. I do this because I'm just waiting for that reinvestment. It's always an investment. So that's a good understanding about dominating the conversation or just controlling the conversation. Let's just say that, because a lot of the time, we get, there's so many different ways that we can say, but when it's very attractive for a female when they're led by a male,
Right.
whether that's conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, continue.
I was saying it's not. I want to clarify. When we're talking about dominance, what we're discussing, it's not a bad thing. It's dominance. This is something. Number one, women like it. It's effective. I just want to clarify. I know some people mix dominance.
I wouldn't say dominance is in the way it's like, where we say dominance, you think of like all these kind of things, these power trips over people, and I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm saying is that, the idea about being the leader. Let's just say that, let's just say you are the person that's making the decisions, the protagonist. You're organizing everyone. You're organizing the events. You're leading the conversation. You say, hey, let's go here. Let's go there. Come on, let's go. You are the person that's proactive rather than reacting to the situation. Instead of being like, oh, we're going here. Oh my God, where are we going? Oh, it's too much. You're more the person that is organizing all this, that is going and doing all these things. So that's what I mean by dominating. It's just very attractive. That's all. It's very attractive to either person. As a guy, sometimes, when the girl does take the reins, it is attractive,
Yeah.
Some people don't like it, some people do. It's kind of like, it's interesting, but again, there's always that balance between, again, with any power, any couple, it's always this power dominance, who wants to get the upper hand, and that's human beings to a T. I'm not saying one sex has more power than the other or anything like that, because that's when you have to get into something that takes 30-40 minutes to explain and understand, about different things. So I'm not even saying that at all, but yeah, the dominance of the conversation just means you have control over it. You are the person that's talking more. You're the person that, it's kind of like an understanding like this. A public speaker and an audience, who is dominating the conversation? The public speaker. The audience isn't talking at all. Even when the questions are being asked in Q&A, it's like he's still dominating. There's 95% of the talking is done by that person. So think about dominance as the person that's talking more, let's just say. But then on the contrary, it's like you can still dominate the conversation with letting the other person talk and investing in the conversation. So it's this balance between the two. You don't have to talk, in I think it's the rule 4 or 5. It's like the person that speaks in the 48 laws of power, the person that speaks less has more power or something like that, So there's contrary beliefs. But again, my belief is that, dominating is basically you just controlling the conversation with talking more and being more of the present that leads it.
Tell me if you agree with this. I think, ironically, a lot of times dominating the conversation, you should be inquisiting, asking about the other person. So me dominating the conversation can be, like, no one likes when you come over to them and start, yapping off about your day and your stuff. People like say, oh, so what do you do? Oh, you're a biology major. That's really cool. So what do you think you're going into? I think that dominating the conversation, ironically, can be trying to pull information about them and making the conversation about the other person.
Yeah, true. The energy, it's just energy basically comes down to, are you engaged? Are you actually engaging the other person? Are you making sure you're both present? Are you actually present in the conversation? Or are you thinking about other things? There's so many dynamics to that would be a whole podcast in itself about the dynamics of a conversation, So yeah, there's so many things. We'll have to do another one like where we break down it, because it's like in that sort of thing, there is so many complexities and so many nuances that the nuances can be understood by everybody when they're broken down very clearly, so.
Yeah, Sam, I would love to do this again with you. I think, seriously, just from this conversation, I could probably talk to you for 20 hours and,
sure.
What I know.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just such a topic that is so interesting to people.
And
that's why I like to teach it. Yeah.
Let's plan next podcast. We will focus on
conversation. Yeah, I'll be down. Totally, bro. Thank you for that. I appreciate it today.
Thank you for coming on. You want to say again, where can people find you? Where do you want them to reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can find me. It's called Sam Matheson too. So Matheson spelled Matheson on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. Yeah. So go find me on all those platforms.
Cool. And if you guys are watching the video, I guess I'll put a screenshot of his Instagram page and TikTok up, and I'll put the link below as well. Please like and subscribe for me. And Sam, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's a pleasure.
No, thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it. It's been good.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. If you felt you gained any value from this, I don't run ads, I don't charge fees. All I ask more importantly than likes, more importantly than subscribing, which I would love to and I appreciate for every single one of you, is share with one friend. For every time you hear a podcast and you gain value, share it with one person, and that allows me to grow in a way that I can put out more content and more valuable stuff for you guys, while we all put our goals first. Thank you so much.